I start from the supposition that the world is topsy-turvy, that things are all wrong, that the wrong people are in jail and the wrong people are out of jail, that the wrong people are in power, that the wealth is distributed in this country and the world in such a way as not simply to require small reform, but to require a drastic reallocation of wealth. All we have to do is think about the state of the world today and realize that things are all upside down. Now, if you don't think, if you just listen to TV and read scholarly things, you actually begin to think that things are not so bad, or that just little things are wrong. But you have to get a little detached and then come back and look at the world, and you are horrified.
Exactly. That's what you just said right now. What you just said now is what everyone's natural reaction. Because anytime someone says anything about space, you automatically think someone figured it out. You don't know the guy's name. You don't know the name of the experiment. You didn't look into it yourself. You just think when someone tells you, how far is the Earth from the sun? They'll say, oh, 93 million miles away. Like you just, everybody relies on someone figured that out and someone double-checked it. You're going on what you read right now.
And they'll look at you like you're crazy. But really, you're the sane one for asking real questions.
The science community is ignoring a lot of the things that we're looking at, and so normal people are going out and doing experiments. And one of the experiments has turned up an amazing fact that we've not been told, and it destroys the whole idea of this heliocentric system, and that is the moon. Now, you can actually measure the temperature of the moonlight next to the temperature of the shade of the moonlight, and you'll find the moonlight is colder than the shade, the opposite from the sun. So the moon is throwing out its own light, and that light is the opposite from the sun. Now, that tells you that it's not reflecting the sun's light. It's producing its own, and its light is different from the sun's. So, you know, the scientific community have not told us this, because they won't tell us this, because it destroys this idea that the sun is, you know, is lighting up the moon.
Everyone knows, like, if you're in sunlight, it's colder in the shade, right? So if it's 100 degrees in the sun, it's 90 degrees in the shade. You go to the moonlight, like, especially in a full moon, especially if it's high in the sky, the moon is its own independent object. It is not reflecting the sun rays. The sun is its own object. Also, you know, about the same size, which is, you know, again, coincidentally, you know, why the moon fits so perfectly in front of the sun during an eclipse. We always thought it was coincidence that even though it was 400 times farther away, that it was also exactly 400 times less diameter, which is why it fits. And the other weird thing about the moon, which everyone thinks, oh, it's just a coincidence, is that we never see the other side of it. It's constantly perfectly rotating, so we only see one side of the moon. Exactly one side. It's not like we have like a quarter of a degree every 5 years or half a degree here and there. It's always the same side. There are no coincidences when it comes to this system. It was deliberately built, but I think it was deliberately built to be detected. And I think we were naturally supposed to figure this thing out maybe as late as the 1970s, but the government figured it out first, and they have been spending a heck of a lot of money trying to keep it a secret.
The Copernicus principle, the one that we live by, is that we're insignificant, we mean nothing, we're a speck in the universe. That's the heliocentric model, that we go around the sun. The geocentric model means that everything goes around us. That's what this is in the Bible. That's what the first astronomers were saying. Ptolemy was the first one to say, yeah, we are the center. You can tell based on these observations, everything's revolving around us.
Earth is the center of the universe, and we stand still, and the universe spins around us.
Passes over a sphere's surface. As the shadow moves onto a sphere, it is wrapping around its curve. Starting from the outer edge and moving towards the middle, the shadow takes on the spherical contour and bends upward at its height, then falls backwards in a barrel-distorted manner. The shadow will always follow the closest edge due to perspective. The shadow will continue to create the S shape until it reaches the halfway point. As the shadow moves beyond the halfway point, it begins to bevel outward again in a barrel distortion manner.
History! We evolved from Neanderthals. That is no mystery.
Well, why are there no monkey fossils?
What, are you kidding me?
I'm just saying. I just
should have learned that way back in elementary.
It didn't get here by magic. It got here through
science.
The ancient Greeks noticed that from time to time, the Earth casts a shadow on the moon.
People noticed that the place that we seem to be living would every now and then cast a shadow on the moon.
This is a lunar eclipse, where the moon gets in the shadow of the Earth. The sunlight is being blocked by the Earth. The moon's on the far side of the Earth.
That shadow was always round.
And that shadow is always curved.
Now, the only shape we know of that always casts a round shadow is a ball.
And the only shape that always produces a curve, no matter what the orientation, that is to say, whether you're standing in Greece at night or if you're standing then 12 hours later in...
It's the ball!
The shadow is always curved. This all depends on our fundamental understanding of the size of the Earth and its shape with extraordinary precision.
Science!
fucking science, bro.
And you guys, come on.
About 18 degrees out here, and we're standing on top of Cahokia Mounds, just east of St. Louis. Behind me is a full moon, which will soon be going into a full lunar eclipse as it sets, kind of a rare experience, while at the same time behind us, the sun is already beginning to rise. So it's going to be a very interesting and beautiful experience. I find very interesting is I was expecting the shadow to come upward across the moon as it would go down and it would cast its shadow, and actually it's going the other way around. The shadow, as the moon is here, the shadow is creeping down across the moon, even though the sun's coming up over here, and that must be because of the moon's rotation around the Earth. It's moving farther up, even though the sun's light is actually coming from over there. It's actually coming underneath the Earth. So if you imagine, the sun is here, the Earth is here, and the moon is back here. This light is coming under the Earth, but the moon must be rotating around even though we're turning. So
Well, Earthshine is much brighter than moonshine.
So by surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialist sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. If there's no God and everyone's just an accident, then all that really matters is me, me, me. So they've turned Madonna, the mother of God, into the material girl living in a material world.
It's all about making us feel nothing, so that we can be used. If everybody realised how special we all are, how unique every single life is, then this whole world would change overnight. We wouldn't allow ourselves to be used by this cabal.